Our main character is Keima, an eccentric young man who always challenges his teacher by playing games anytime, anywhere. He is a master and also an addict of fantasy flirting games because he thinks that girls in the real world are always cruel. Keima can play games anywhere and in any situation to satisfy his hobby of conquering 2D girls. In the gaming community, he is known as the god of Conquest because he has broken almost every dating game ever released. When he was replying to comments on the forum, he suddenly received a strange message from the game interface. The words in the letter seemed challenging, so Keima immediately pressed the agree button. A girl with a skull hairpin suddenly appeared from the void, causing Keima to jump to the side in shock. The girl introduces herself as Elsie, a little demon tasked with subduing the evil spirits that are hiding inside the girls. After explaining, Elsie asked Keima to help her. But he felt it was bullshit, so he decided to go and buy a game. But Elsie suddenly said that if that was the case, he would immediately fly because the necklace had suddenly appeared on his neck. Because he signed a contract with the devil, Keima was forced to make the contract, but there was no other way. In order to banish the evil spirits inside the girls' hearts, Keima must find a way to seduce them and receive a sincere kiss from the girls. However, it's ridiculous that even though Keima is flirting with girls in the game, he doesn't have any love experience in real life. When Elsie heard that, she was completely shocked because she thought Keima was a prostitute, so she made a contract with him. She cried, saying that they would both die together because they were bound by the contract. Running out of ways, Keima was forced to use all the knowledge of flirting that he had played before to complete the task. Keima's first target is her classmate Ayumi. This friend is a member of the athletics club, so Keima has devised a way to hang a cheering banner to win her heart. But this game was too ridiculous, so it made Ayumi angry and she ran to him and gave him a kick to the ground. This afternoon Ayumi was practicing hard for tomorrow's athletics competition when carelessly fell and sprained and was in danger of having to miss the competition. Taking this opportunity, Keima approached Ayumi and used words that hit her mood to advise her to keep running. He knew that Ayumi didn't really hurt her leg but because she purposely fell because of her recent achievements. Hearing Keima's words of encouragement, Ayumi felt better and gave him a kiss. Thanks to that, Elsie took the opportunity to capture the evil spirit that had just emerged from Ayumi's body into a jar. The next day, Ayumi excellently won the race, however she had no memory of yesterday with Keima. The next morning, little Elsie appeared in Keima's classroom as the new student and his younger sister. Keima vehemently opposes having another sister, and he uses the excuse that Elsie doesn't meet his sister criteria. Undeterred, Elsie clung to Keima, which made him feel extremely uncomfortable. Arriving home, Elsie met Keima's mother and she claimed to be her husband's stepdaughter, prompting Keima's mother to call her husband on a business trip. In order to meet Keima's little sister criteria, Elsie put a lot of effort into showing her abilities from cooking to cleaning the house. But the result is that the baby only makes everything worse. Keima got angry and went to take a bath, not knowing that Elsie would come in with him to ask for a massage for him. Keima angrily scolded Elsie with a slap. Elsie told me that in hell she was just a sweeper. When she was assigned the task of catching evil spirits, she was overjoyed because she was finally able to become a real yokai. Hearing that, Keima finally accepted this reluctant sister and helped her hunt evil spirits. The next day, while standing in front of the canteen, Keima and Elsie received the alarm of the evil spirit recently. The host of the evil spirit this time is the cold, rich lady Mio. After analyzing Mio's personality, young Keima used the young Elsie to test his classic confession sentences, causing her to constantly blush. After the trial period, Keima decided to confess to Mio but was rejected by her outright. Mio says that Keima is poor and unworthy of her. Thanks to Elsie's guidance, Keima followed Mio home. Surprisingly, Mio's life was not as rich as people thought, but where this child lived was just a dilapidated old dormitory. Keima and Elsie stood outside the window and overheard Mio and the driver's argument. It turned out that Mio's father was the director of Aoyama Corporation. But since her father's death, the family has fallen into disrepair and her mother is now struggling with a difficult life. But instead of seeing reality, Mio always pretends to be rich and still keeps the habit of extravagant spending, so the driver is really helpless and worried about the future life of her and her mother. Mio ran after the driver and discovered that Keima was outside listening to everything. She blushed and huddled into the house and was very afraid that he would tell everyone at school. On the way home, Keima had already calculated in his mind how to seduce the stubborn Mio and decided to do it tomorrow. The next morning, Keima went to Mio's house politely to ask to take her to school, But Mio still refused to come with him because his bicycle was too bad. So Elsie used magic to transform her Keima's iron horse into a rice cart. Mio didn't want to have to walk, so she had to climb on the carriage, and Keima tried to push her pants down to take the young lady to school. Then every day Elsie transforms the car into a new design but still a rice-powered engine. Keima's persistent pursuit finally made Mio laugh happily after a long time living with a cold face. After that, Keima concluded that she was a nice person, but for some reason she had to live like that. Keima found several letters addressed to Mio, and one of them was an invitation to a fancy party. Keima decided to take Mio to the party and asked her to teach him how to dance, and Elsie appeared here as a servant. At this time 3 men come and tease Mio about her poor life, making Mio angry. But instead of going along with Mio's will to comfort her, Keima seriously tells Mio that she should look at the truth and accept that her father is dead. It turns out that Mio always tries to maintain this rich life because she believes that if she lived like that, her father would always be proud of her. Keima tells her that she should have a life of her own and forces her to choose between him and a life of false riches. While Mio was hesitating, Keima hugged her and gave her a passionate kiss. Like last time, the evil spirit was banished and Elsie immediately subdued it and erased Mio's memories of the past events. Like any other day, Keima continued to anger the teachers when he kept playing games during class. This time Ta is trying to break a pretty special game. This is a game where no one seems to be able to make it to the final stage. This game requires players to get acquainted with the lovely Sora. And to clear the game, the player must go to the gallery and see Sora's painting. This game used to be very hot because players received a lot of incentives and gifts when buying game discs, so many people wanted to try it. But the game was continuously delayed 23 times. When it was released, it encountered a bug. The publisher fixed this error, then another bug, so it ended up going bankrupt. So most of the players gave up the game and only Keima persisted with it. He played this game over and over again 1,000 times until he forgot to eat or sleep. He also asked Elsie to help him record all of his moves in order to find the right path to the final stage. According to Keima, the heroine of a dating game is always waiting for the player to save her from a tragic fate, so he can't abandon the heroine just because the game has a bug. After many failures, Keima Youth finally escaped the game's iteration. Just when I thought I was going to be the first to break this difficult game, the screen encountered the usual error. So Keima had to plow the game again and even frantically set the goal of playing the game for 100 hours without a break. Recently, Elsie is idolizing a lovely idol named Kanan, so she had a heated argument with Keima when comparing 2D idol and real person idol. One morning, the students in the school were in an uproar because of the news that the idol girl Kanan was about to return to school after 2 months of leave. Although he is a famous idol, Kanan is a self-deprecating person and often has low self-esteem. She recently won the award for Best Amateur Artist, so the spirit is very happy. This award has helped her feel a lot more confident. That afternoon, Kanan was encouraging herself on the school's rooftop when she caught sight of Keima. Because she is focusing on playing games, Keima doesn't care about Kanan, which makes her feel disappointed. She even held the injector and pointed it directly at Keima's game console because she was upset. Fortunately, little Elsie showed up just in time to ask for Idol's autograph, making Kanan's spirits happy again. But knowing that Keima was a classmate without knowing her popularity, Kanan continued to feel self-conscious. She once again charged Keima and left, leaving Elsie bewildered because she discovered that Kanan was the next target that Keima needed to conquer. The next day, Elsie told Keima all the information she knew about Kanan, but Keima didn't care much about it because he just wanted to stay away from the violent idol. Keima unexpectedly discovered Kanan's message under the table and she asked to meet him on the rooftop after school. Kanan had set her sights on conquering Keima and making him her fan, so she organized a small show for Keima to watch after school. However, Keima is always indifferent and does not care about the Kanan girl, making her even more disappointed and self-deprecating. Based on long-term gaming experience, the guy Keima thinks that when a girl constantly follows you, it is definitely a trap, so he must refuse. Keima's indifference really upset Kanan to the point where she literally almost faded away. To appease the disappearing Kanan, Keima admitted to her that he had always heard her sing, but Kanan didn't believe Keima's words. To avoid being electrocuted by the idol, Keima lied that because Kanan sang so well, it made him feel like he was in heaven. Thanks to that, Kanan temporarily calmed down and forgave Keima. Elsie angrily reprimanded Keima that he always ignored Kanan, that's why she was like that. But Keima replied that his real purpose was to find Kanan's weakness and use it to seduce her. So Elsie happily helped Keima investigate important news about the singer. That night while watching Kanan's live performance on TV, Keima noticed that Kanan was having trouble singing and he immediately discovered her problem. It turned out that there was an audience that didn't pay attention to Kanan's performance, so she was extremely worried.